Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Mattner, and I'm a high school English teacher here at a local charter school in Minneapolis. This week's question asks, how does online learning impact education? I already see that it has had a tremendous impact on education. It will continue to have an impact on education for years and years to come. This is not a fad. This is not a fluke. It will continue to boom and grow, and many students will be accessing online education. I see some positive aspects when it comes to online education, and I also see some drawbacks, and I want to discuss both of those issues here today. Let's start with the positive aspects of online education. First of all, I like the degree of flexibility and adaptiveness it allows for students. We can see already that many colleges offer their classes online. You can get credit. There are many programs out there where you can get your master's degree and your doctorate degree completely online from any university around the world and your own pace at your own time. I like that because it accommodates adult learners that might have busy lives and have responsibilities with families and can't just put everything on hold to focus in on their education. It allows those learners to continue with their lives outside of academics while at the same time continuing their education so that they can get the classes that they need, and so that they can get their master's or their doctorate or their bachelor's. So I love that. That's great because you can do it anywhere at any time as well. There is no set time schedule. The other thing that I like about online education and the impact it has had on education as a whole is that it's breaking down the traditional model of education where you have to step inside a brick and mortar classroom at a certain time, and at the centerpiece of that classroom is a teacher. And the teacher has all the information and has all the sources and has all the facts, and what that teacher does is stand in the front of the class and dispenses all that information to students in a form of a lecture, while students just sit at a desk or at a table taking down notes and memorizing it so that they can recall it later on and regurgitate it on a quiz or a test. We all know that most of those classes we forget about whatever we learned after that class is completed. Also, it's not very engaging. It's boring. We find it, we think of it as hoop jumping, that we have to go through this hoop in order to, we just have to do it. We have to just go through the motions. And we become very narrow focused on grades and just getting it done with, rather than taking in and really enjoying the experience of learning and feeling engaged and enlivened with learning. That's what I like about online classes, because online classes, it shifts that. It's more learner-centered. The student is more empowered, takes more control. The onus is on them to shape and make their education for what it is for them. It also allows them to bring in their own prior knowledge and their experiences, and understands that students are going to develop and gain new knowledge in different ways, depending upon who they are and where they come from. That's another positive aspect of online education. It also allows many different opportunities and ways for you to show that you are learning, or what you are learning. For instance, like right now, I'm doing a video podcast on a question that Aaron posed. That's just like one of the advantages of online learning that you wouldn't be able to get in a traditional classroom setting. There's other activities that you can do online as well. Blog posts, all sorts of different activities using and incorporating technology. That's another positive aspect. Technology, we depend upon technology so much in our day-to-day lives. It has become a very important part of our lives, and it has changed the way that we think. It's changed the way that we have learned. It's changed the way that we communicate with each other. So that's another positive thing. The drawbacks that I see is that the ideal online classroom is individualized, and it's the great equalizer. It can equalize education and give access to education for everyone. The problem is that technology is expensive. Not everyone has access to technology. So how are you going to address that need? Students that don't have access to technology, it's not readily available to them. How are they going to be part of the online learning community if they can't find a way to get to a computer? That's one thing that I think is a very crucial question there. Another thing is, the second question is, what about older adult learners, older students, students that have been brought up by traditional methods and ways, have been part of the traditional way of learning and haven't been in a classroom for 10 to 15 years, and then you present them with an online format, an online learning. It's going to be overwhelming for them. They might have a lot of questions and doubts and lots of frustrations about how to use this. There needs to be more orientation done so that students that are in the traditional mindset are comfortable using and experiencing the platform that is and the technology that is used in online education. The final thing is, well, assessment. How do you account for what students are learning? How do you take that into consideration? Assessment's constantly changing now with online education, because usually assessment comes in the traditional method comes at the tail end. There's a formal assessment through a quiz or a test or an academic paper. Will online education abandon those? Will they co-opt those into the online education environment? Who's to say? And another thing that I just thought of is the social interactions that you usually get with a traditional classroom, that social network. There's something that's lost in the online world. It's a different social network. You get it more in bits and pieces, but you don't really connect with people in a very physical way, like face to face. So I'm worried about that as well, especially when people are talking about moving online learning into high school and the middle school setting, where students are still need that social interaction. They need those peer. They need to interact with their peers and other people, because they're still developing and growing and changing and not quite fully formed adults. Anyway, those are my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents. Thanks a lot. I'm looking forward to next week. Take care, guys. Bye.